to Long Island, New York. Good morning to everybody here on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Sorry for the delay. I got to just be honest. It was a little hard to get it was a little hard to get up this morning, but we're here and ready to rock and roll. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to go over some of the we'll go over some of the rally information. We got a lot of attention yesterday. We got a lot of attention yesterday from a lot of people. I don't know if you guys all saw it, but we got a ton of attention yesterday for our Montauk Save America rally. Wow, that was a fun time yesterday, and it was good to do it again. And let's keep going. It was a good time. It definitely was a good time. I'm pulling up some information now. I'm just getting ready. Getting everything ready to go, getting the screen shares ready to go, letting everybody pop right back into the chat here. And once we do, we will take off and get going. I've got some information, I got some exciting information with regards to education to talk about again. Somebody did come through. Okay, somebody did come through. We talk about be brave, do something like Project Veritas says, and somebody was brave. And we have information. And I think you're going to be excited when you see some of this information and when we talk about some of this information. But the first thing that I want to talk about today is yesterday, because I know there was some confusion yesterday. There was some confusion yesterday in Montauk. And I'm going to wait just another minute or two just to let some folks come on in. I have to get a little more of the Kofifi. But it was a good rally yesterday. Well, here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about yesterday's rally. Go over that for a minute. And then we have, we're calling today the truth about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is not going to be opinion stuff. This is going to be real stuff. This is not going to be opinion stuff. This is going to be the real story that's going to come from documents and materials from the inside. And there is no better source than the inside. So, yes, we do have somebody who came forward, and it's pretty awesome. And this person came forward and forwarded materials that they have access to. And we have them. And we'll talk about them in a second, and we'll share some of it. I'm going to go through something called the candy wrapper theory, or the candy wrapper process, which I'm going to attempt to make sense. But first, let's talk about Montauk. A lot of people who did a terrific job yesterday. Overwhelming majority of us who showed up yesterday and did the run from Seaford to Montauk, or maybe you started from Patchogue, or you started out in Shirley, or you came all the way from Seaford. Everybody did a good job, and we had an incredible turnout. We were noticed by Benny Johnson. You guys know Benny Johnson, right? You guys know Benny Johnson, right? So Benny Johnson got a video from somebody who was passing our rally from the other side, and they passed us going west. We were still going east, and he shared it. We're the only ones in the country at this point, loud majority is, that is still actively pushing the left's buttons. No, there's some others, but we really are turning out, and we had so many people jump in yesterday, and it was really it was something else. Montauk, when we drove into Montauk, I don't know how many of you guys, I'm looking at the chat now. Right through when we got into Montauk, there was a nice welcome party. There was a lot of people that were there and cheering us on. It was great. The overpasses was great. People on the side of the road and Really just a really good day. Donald Trump Jr. did share my Instagram live on his story, which blew my mind. So shout out to Don Jr. Thank you so much for doing that. And I only hope, and I know, but I only hope that his father as well, the man, also knows what we're out here and what we're doing, and that we're fighting for him and we're fighting for the United States, because that's what this fight's largely about. You know, people go, "You're obsessed with Trump." Well, I do sound like him a little bit, okay? But but I wouldn't say obsessed. But isn't the whole world kind of focused on Donald Trump right now? What would have happened if they didn't play games? What would be happening if Donald Trump was still in office? Who knows? I think gas would be a whole lot cheaper. I think the shelves would be a whole lot nicer. The bare shelves, Biden. So Montauk. I want to say thank you to a few people. I'm going to miss someone, and I know it, and it's not personal, so please don't be upset. But let's start in Seaford. Shout out to Chris, who organized that entire lot, did a great job on the road, did a great job yesterday, Chris. You did an amazing job. Kelly from Patchogue, and I'm working on getting you that video that you need of your husband having a good time with the gentleman in Montauk. George Pritchard and Shirley, great job. You know, everybody who jumped in this time, it looked good. They were stacked up on the road and just kind of rolled right in, so it looked great. Our pilot. Did you guys see that plane? Save America. Trump won. FJB. That was cool, right? And our friend, the silent assassin, Brian, for getting us in touch with the pilot again. A shout out there. Nassau County Police, they were great getting us out of the lot in Seaford. So thank you guys. We really didn't have any encounters with Suffolk County, but I'll say thank you to Suffolk County Police anyway, because we backed the blue. Now, let's talk about what happened at the lot. Let's talk about, does anybody know who that crowd was at the Mercedes-Benz driving from Seaford all the way out? There was like that big crowd on the side of the road. That wasn't for us, I don't think, but there were a lot of people who were excited that we were rolling by. So that was pretty cool. Let's talk about what happened in Montauk when we got there. So we were told, this is great. I was told all of a sudden they're doing what they did to us in Eisenhower. I said, what, they're closing the lot? He goes, yeah. Are you kidding me? So I go down, and there's flashing lights by the gate. And the cop is down there, the officer's down there. And he's saying, yeah, you know, there's a bomb scare. So here we go. So I asked him, I said, let me ask you. Now here's something that, and I know we sometimes feel like we're being targeted. I understand that. I know sometimes we feel like the system's being used against us. I understand that. But folks, I'm going to ask you, it's not easy. I get it. But please, when there's a police officer and they're explaining something, if you disagree, just walk away. All right? I get it. It was tense. We just rode in a car for 3.5 hours. And to be told that friends of yours on the line to get in can't come in because of a bomb scare is annoying. But let's not yell at police officers, right? Let's just try and understand them and help them. So that's what we did. Look, it was a very select few, and it was heated, and the police officers were fine. They were very good. They handled it well. So we get into, I come up to the front there, the officer's talking, and we're with a crowd. And there's a little bit of yelling, and I said, guys, let's not yell. And I walked over to the officer, said, what's the story? What's going on here? Why is the lot shut down? He says, oh, well, there's a bomb scare. Somebody called it a bomb threat. I said, well, that's interesting. So how come you're not telling anybody up in the lot that's about to explode to leave? What? No, don't come into the lot, but the people who are sitting there tailgating next to the bomb, no, they're fine. He goes, no, you guys could leave. I said, yes, but if there's a bomb scare and nobody up there knows there's a bomb, what? Are they just screwed? So he said, look, we don't know where the bomb is. I can't believe I'm talking about this because when I tell you what it was, it's great. So the officer says that there was a water bottle. Somebody spotted a water bottle under a bench with a wick coming out of it and a discolored liquid inside. Okay. So I'm saying, all right, I know what it probably is because we were all just in a car for 3 hours, 4 hours. It took us a long time to get. I know what it probably is, folks. You know what it probably is. But I said, all right, let's go look for it. So sure enough, we go a couple of benches down and there it is, the bomb, okay? And we look at it and we're like, come on, right? Now, I'm going to refer to this individual as the bomb squad until I have permission from this person to release their name to say that this is the person who gave it the old smell test. You know, the old whiffaroo. So the bomb squad shows up, right? Friend of ours, the bomb squad. So this is what happened. So for those of you guys who were turned away, there was a bomb scare in the parking lot. And it's the ultimate fake news story in the world, right? This is great. Now, I get it. You hear bomb scare. You see there's a ton of people there. You obviously want to keep them safe. I understand. You know, they're taking the precautions. They're closing the lot. They're not making the situation potentially worse. I understand. You have to, you know, it is what it is. You know, in the islip area, I was told in the islip area, there was somebody threatening to break windows with a golf club. You know, these people are obsessed with us. These people are obsessed with us. They're going to walk around with a golf club threatening to break people's windows? Really? They're obsessed. They're going to call in fake bomb threats. There's a bunch of Trump supporters at the Montauk Lighthouse, and there's a bomb. So what was the bomb threat? So the bomb squad comes over, good friend of ours, and and the officer, we look at it, and you know the cap is still on the water bottle, and the wick was just a napkin that was sitting on top of it, not into it. I said to the officer, I went, listen, man, that thing couldn't explode if it wanted to. He goes, yeah, I know. It was a water bottle with urine in it. So we are going to refer to yesterday's incident as PGate because that's exactly what it was. So our bomb squad friend opens it up, gives it the old whiffaroo, goes, that ain't gasoline. Says it's pee. So the officer walks back. He's got his gloves on. He walks back. He's got the suspicious item. And he says, guys, it's piss in a bottle. It's and then they reopened the lot. Unfortunately, a lot of people were turned away at that point, and I'm sorry for that. I could not have seen that one coming, and I'm not surprised. But we went from bomb, you're all in danger, to pee in a water bottle, ladies and gentlemen. So in the chat here, we have someone who says, what a pisser. So PGate yesterday was born. So thank you guys for putting up with that. I'm sorry that it took you a little longer than necessary to get into the lot. And if you were turned away because of PGate, I'm sorry, but that's what happened. We had our first bomb scare. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. A lot of support heading out east yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that, but out in the East End, there was a lot of support, more support than normal. But there was a lot of support out east yesterday. There was a lot of people shooting their brakes back at us, and I saw a lot of thumbs up. There were a few number ones, a few birds. They got flipped at us. Yeah, I make a lot of noises if you guys couldn't tell. So, but there were a few birds. There were a few nice little, but it's okay. It's okay. You take the bullhorn and you just let's go Brandon right out there. By the way, riding through the Hamptons chanting let's go Brandon on a bullhorn is so much fun. If you haven't done that, you're missing out. You haven't lived. But Barry says, an hour waiting to get in, almost had a PGate in my car. Someone had a welcome insurrectionist sign. A few people were upset. They were flipping the birds, but that's okay. It was overall a good day. And what did we do? We went right past them. There were no, physical incidents. We didn't have counter protesters come in and crash the thing. So overall, a really good day, successful day. The plane was good. Everybody was great. And thank you guys for coming out and enjoying yourselves. The energy was real. Don Jr. took notice of it. All right. He shared my post. And then another person, somehow that video got into the hands of Benny Johnson, and everyone is blown away that we're doing this in New York. So folks, when I tell you people are watching, people, not just, other ordinary folks that are out there, people, Benny Johnson, Don Jr., I'm sure the big guy, all over, they're watching. And now if you see, and this is just something personal, but Australia, a couple other YouTube shows, everybody and their mother, the term bare shelves Biden may actually be something that sticks. And, that started here. So, I wasn't the first person to use the term, but putting it in that video and then it exploded. But bare shelves Biden, I mean, that could be, if Donald Trump refers to Joe Biden in his next rally as bare shelves Biden, I will probably start shedding there will be a tear that forms and then slowly trickles and comes, because that's pretty cool. And it was the number one trend in the United States on Friday after the show. So that's pretty good. I do not have a number of cars. I'm working on it. I do not know the number of cars. But I'll work on a number. I have pictures from the plane looking down, and you could see the line of, it was just miles, absolute miles. So bare shelves Biden. Yep. So that one got through. So great job yesterday, Montauk. A lot of people were watching. Benny Johnson got our video, shared it out. Don Trump Jr. shared out my post. I went live for about 3 minutes. I'm not sure how he got it. He does spend a lot of time in Montauk. I know that. He goes fishing out there on the Deep Lorable. It's a great name of the boat. But that got shared out. Benny Johnson shared it out. Everybody was surprised that it was happening in New York. I don't know why they were so surprised. We've been doing this for a year, but I think the surprises are going to stop. Everyone knows who we are, and so just keep coming out and be a part of it, because it's never happened before. And we are going to transform New York politics, and local elections are coming up in a couple of weeks. So the same energy we had yesterday, the same energy that we had on the road, the same energy that we had at the Lighthouse, we need that energy behind guys like Ray Tierney, Stephen Becker, Dominic Thorne, Andy Whitman. We need Steph Bontempi. We need the energy behind people like Ann Donnelly, Bruce Blakeman. We got a chance here. A big, big chance. We need that energy out in the city behind Curtis Sliwa and Vicky Palladino. That was a great turnout on Saturday at Vicky's campaign headquarters. Wednesday night, they're having a debate watch party, too, for the Curtis Sliwa, Eric Adams debate. I'll get you more information on that as well. And look, folks, if you're upset and you are worried about cheating and election fraud and all of this, the answer is never not to vote. How do we know they're not going to cheat? We don't. So we overwhelm them. So we go so far that the cheating gets canceled out by the amount of votes that we have. Vote as if there's no fraud. Work the polls and keep an eye out for fishy things as if they're taking it right from underneath your nose. But you got to get out and vote. We will put out a list of folks that we would suggest voting for, but we're getting all that together. Hopefully, we'll have that out by this week. And there's also a couple of provisions on the back of these ballots that we want to make sure that we vote down as well. Okay, let's get to some juicy stuff. Last week, and I've gotten a lot of feedback about the Panorama story that kind of we started breaking and started talking about last week. For those of you who don't know Panorama Education is the company that is headed up and run by a man named Alexander Tanner, who is the son-in-law of the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland. Panorama Education supplies SEL, social emotional learning, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and culturally responsive and sustaining CRS training modules to districts and organizations across the United States, 23,000 school districts and organizations across the United States servicing 13 million students. So Panorama is not a small player. And you know that the Attorney General has weaponized the FBI to now monitor parents and what they're doing at school board meetings, going as far as to classify some of them who are violent as domestic terrorists because they're speaking out against diversity, equity, and inclusion curricula like that. Those three nasty words that mean what we think it means: critical race theory. Some people tell us no. I'm here to tell you the truth behind and the truth about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've got it all for you. And it's going to be definitions that they came up with. They're not my definitions. So we have the Attorney General of the United States weaponizing the FBI to cover for his son-in-law's company. Right? If enough parents make enough noise about DEI, if enough parents make enough noise about Panorama Education and SEL and CRS and CRT and all of this, it's possible that it can cost Panorama Education some money. And so they have to suppress that because they're fascists. They're communists, they're fascists, they're totalitarians, they're disgusting, these people. And we expect it from them. This is nothing new. We're not dealing with, we're not breaking any ground here. And so that's what the Attorney General was doing, and that's what he's doing with the FBI. And, it's disgusting, and here we are. But here's the question that a lot of people want to ask. Here's the question. Is DEI CRT? Is diversity, equity, and inclusion critical race theory? Is DEI CRT? Right? I have been I have been pushing and I have been openly vocalizing that DEI and CRT are nearly one and the same. All right? You can read New York State's DEI framework. You can read their summary of what DEI is. You can read all of this. Is DEI CRT? And I basically say, yeah, I think so. Pretty sure. It's very close. It may not be the exact same thing, but it's heavily rooted in critical race theory. Okay? Most districts are going to tell you no. They're going to tell you no. It's not the same thing as critical race theory. Critical race theory is not taught in grade school. Critical race theory doesn't exist. Critical race theory is only taught in college. Critical race theory is taught in grade school, but this is something different. This is diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what they'll all tell you. That's what everybody's going to tell you. Oh, yeah, no. Critical race theory is not the same. It's DEI. It's a completely different program, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm here to tell you that they're lying to you. I'm here to tell you that they're openly lying to you. The districts will tell you that DEI and CRT are not the same. They will tell you that DEI and CRT and SEL, social emotional learning, and CRS, culturally responsive and sustaining education, they will tell you all of these things are not the same thing as critical race theory. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. Like I said, I have an insider. Somebody was brave on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, got in contact with us. And this person is currently taking a diversity, equity, and inclusion training course over at BOCES, which is what we said. BOCES was using Panorama Education to train the teachers on how to indoctrinate children. She's taking the course. I now have the materials, and I'm going to go over them with you today. And we're going to show you that DEI is very much the same thing as critical race theory. And SEL and CRS are very much the same thing as critical race theory. And I want to start this by talking about what I said was the candy wrapper. I'm moving at a slower pace this morning because I want you to understand where I'm at and make this logical connection. Because you see, we are a bunch of logical people in the chat here. We are a bunch of logical people. We use reason. We use our rational minds to make decisions. You know, we don't just hear something and run. So I want you to think about a piece of candy. And I want you to think about a candy wrapper. And so if you read it logically on the front of a candy wrapper that said, here, I'm going to ask a question to the chat. If you read something on the front of a candy wrapper, right, and you looked at it, and it said Tootsie Roll, what type of candy do you think when you open that wrapper is going to be inside? What do you think you're going to be eating? Do you think that if you look at something and it says Tootsie Roll that you're going to be getting a Klondike bar? Do you think that looking inside of a wrapper and it says Tootsie Roll, you think you're going to be getting a Tic Tac? Okay. Do you think you're going to be getting Bazooka bubble gum? What do you think is going to happen? If you look inside, if you look at a piece of candy and it says Tootsie Roll on the wrapper and you unwrap it and you get inside, it's probably going to be a Tootsie Roll, right? If you have a water bottle that says Poland Spring on it, the chances are you're going to be drinking water. Poland Spring. If you have a bottle of soda and it says Dr. Pepper, the greatest doctor in the history of the world, okay? We trust Dr. Pepper more than Dr. Fauci. If you have something on it that says Dr. Pepper, chances are you're going to be drinking Dr. Pepper. Well, we're going to go into the DEI training, and we're going to look at this candy wrapper. Take a look at the DEI training here. I'm going to, here we are. So we have the DEI training right up in front of us. This is it. Get this out of here. This is it. Welcome, Regional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity PLC. All right. Here we go. We get through some of the intros here, and we are going to look at the agenda. Okay. Does everybody see this? I just zoomed in on it. I want to show you what we're talking about. Yes, we are good on that. I'm just double checking. Here's the agenda. This comes straight from it. It's Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. You can see it's right up here. Here's the agenda. Unfortunately, I can't click on that link. There's probably some good juicy stuff. But here you go. The first presenter, the introductions. Right there, you can see it. Welcome and virtual meeting. Renew Bernie Brown's braving norms. Overview of the regional DEI PLC. Network team breakout session. Introduce yourself and share one of the goals that you may have for joining that. That's the first half hour of the training from 8:30 to 9. The very first presenter after that, after the introductions, after everybody here, welcome, haha, here's my name, blah, 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 all that silliness that you go through, the icebreakers, right? Who is the very first presenter? Who do you see down here? Somebody by the name of Dr. Alan Singer. Well, who the hell is that? I don't know. Well, I know, but right off the bat, you probably don't know. But what is Alan Singer talking about, ladies and gentlemen? What does it say here that Alan Singer is talking about? The history, it's a presentation, half hour. The history behind critical race theory in a whole group discussion. So you are going to do, let's do candy wrapper again. You are going to tell us, districts are going to tell us, the state is going to tell us, some of your school board members are going to tell us that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not critical race theory. Then let me ask you this question. Because this training is being done to administrators, it's being done for teachers. If your teachers and your administrators are being trained on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in those trainings, the very first presenter after the introductions is presenting about critical race theory. Let's go back to the candy wrapper, ladies and gentlemen. I have allergies today. We're not going to say it. So China virus. It's not, but I have allergies. Let's go back to the candy wrapper. Look at a piece of candy. The first thing you see are the words Tootsie Roll. Chances are you're holding a Tootsie Roll, right? You look at a sign of let's do this. The title, Snakes on a Plane of the movie. What do you think that movie's going to be about, ladies and gentlemen? Right? So the candy wrapper tells you that it's a Tootsie Roll, and the person that's giving it to you is telling you, no, it's not a Tootsie Roll, it's a Kit Kat. But wait a second, hold on. That don't say Kit Kat on there. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck, smells like a duck. It's probably a duck. So the very first, and this is not me making anything up, this came from the trainings. This is what your teachers are being trained on. Right here on the screen. This is what your teachers are being trained on. The very first presenter in the DEI training at BOCES, the very first presenter is a presenter who is talking about critical race theory. Don't you dare, any district anywhere now, tell me that DEI is not CRT. Because if you're sticking a room full of teachers and administrators and staffers and faculty and whatever, educators are in that room, are taking that training live, in person, or virtually like this, the very first thing they're being exposed to is the history behind critical race theory. What do you think the rest of the training is going to be about if that is how it starts? You're setting the tone. You're framing the day. The candy wrapper says Tootsie Roll. What else do you think is going to be inside it when it says it on the front? Restaurant says pizzeria. You know they make pizza. Right? So Alan Singer is the first presenter. And who the hell is he? We don't know. I had no idea who this person was ever. So we started doing some digging one night. It was Sunday night. I'm sorry. Jeez. Wow. I got hairy legs. I'm all over the place just throwing words out. Friday night. We were doing some digging here late. The whole team on it. Whole team. And so we were digging and reading about it and digging and reading about it. And so we found out who Alan Singer was. Alan Singer is a professor at Hofstra University, my alma mater. It's great. Alan Singer. That's fine. Want to be a professor? All good. You want to teach critical race theory in college? I don't agree with it. But hey, all good. I get it. He teaches some graduate classes. He teaches some undergrad. But most of the CRT that he teaches over at Hofstra is graduate classes. We looked into this. Looked right into it. Most of the classes that he's teaching are graduate classes. A lot of them are the prerequisite is that you have your teacher certification. So this guy's teaching teachers in BOCES, and he's also teaching teachers at Hofstra. And he's a critical race theorist. Don't believe me. That's fine. You don't have to. I'm going to put up another article. And I just got to pull it up here. of Alan Singer. I think this is it right here. We're going to share this. And that's the 6-1. Yes, that's the 6-1 article. All right. So here we go. So here it is. He wrote in the LI Herald, Alan Singer. This is going to get you guys I bet you this is going to get you guys real upset. All right. So let me go to this. Let me find out if this is, oh, geez. I mean, it's really hard to get this thing queued up. Let me find it again. There we go. Share and get to restream and turn that on. All right, here it is. LI Herald. Critical race theory as critical thinking. Dr. Alan Singer, Hofstra University. So you see this. He's talking about critical race theory. This is the guy who is the first presenter in the DEI trainings, right? The candy wrapper says Tootsie Roll. The first presenter in the DEI trainings is a critical race theory professor telling everybody about the history of critical race theory. But I thought this has nothing to do with critical race theory. I thought diversity, equity, and inclusion was different. I thought critical race theory only occurred in K to 12. What happened? When did the story change? The story never changed. Your districts are lying to you. How do we know? I'm not making this up. This is the BOCES training. If you're, goodness gracious. Wait till we throw some districts under the bus here, because we're going to do that in a second. Let me go through and show you some really funny stuff here that Alan Singer likes to say about critical race theory and about folks like us. Right? Here you go. Let me scroll down. I'm going to show you what we were talking about here. In some circles, vehement opposition to CRT has become the new code phrase for rallying white opposition to full rights and citizenship for African Americans. So anybody in this atmosphere here who has once said we don't want African Americans to be citizens of the United States, I haven't heard that once. So this guy's talking out of his rear end, which probably smells a whole lot better than when he talks out of his front end, because look what he looks like. Definitely probably has morning breath all day long. Here it comes. And I can't wait to show you get out of here. What is this here? I can't wait to show the controversy. This is in the LI Herald. The controversy over CRT erupted in Comac when members of a group called, what does that say? Members of a group called the Loud Majority. Oh, it's those domestic terrorists again. Oh, no. Oh, no, it's the big boogeyman. Orange Man bad. And the guy who sounds like the Orange Man, he's also bad. Loud Majority disrupted 2 public meetings, interrupting Board of Education members and speakers in the audience. Oh, my God. The Loud Majority showed up to the board meeting and they told us that the book that the kids were reading were pornographic and they're racist. There it is, folks. He's writing about us. You think we're not making a difference? You think we're not under people's skin? They're writing about us. That's an honor, Mr. Singer. Dr. Singer, whatever the hell you name it. I don't know how you got your doctorate degree, whose rump you smooched, but hey, smooch away, my friend. He's writing about us, but that's not even the best part about it. That's not even the best part about it. Here, he quotes Donald Trump. In the 1990s, local scientists and educational researchers began to employ CRT as a lens to misunderstand the persistence of race and racism. It became controversial when President Trump denounced CRT as a part of a response to the New York Times 1619 Project. To rally his supporters during his reelection campaign, Trump declared, quote, critical race theory is being forced into our children's schools, it's being imposed into workplace trainings, and it's being deployed to rip apart friends, neighbors, and families. I'm sorry, Mr. Singer, Dr. Singer, whatever you choose to call yourself. What part of that quote is incorrect? Critical race theory is absolutely being forced into our children's schools because you're doing it. You are doing it. Look at this. As a former high school social studies teacher, I embrace the effort by the National Council for Social Studies to promote critical thinking based on an evaluation of evidence. I find CRT to be an important lens for engaging students as critical thinkers, and I believe it helps teachers involve students in a broader discussion. Says it right here in Alan Singer's article. As a former high school teacher, he is a critical race theorist. So Donald Trump is talking, and he's teaching your teachers Donald Trump is talking about critical race theory being forced into our children's schools. It is true. Alan Singer is one of the people forcing it into the children's schools. Now, check this part of it out. Here's when Alan Singer tries to discredit Thomas Jefferson. European Enlightenment is often known as the Age of Reason because Enlightenment thinkers tried to apply scientific principles to understand human behavior and how societies work. Many of the earliest Enlightenment thinkers were from England, Scotland, and France, but the idea of using reason and science spread to other European countries and their colonies. In the United States, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin are considered Enlightenment thinkers. Some historians, including me, Alan Singer, point out that the Age of Reason in Europe was also the peak of the transatlantic slave trade, when millions of Africans were transported to the Americas as enslaved laborers for plantations. And that's how the article ends. Just like that. So you see him taking a drive-by, a swipe, a parting shot at Thomas Jefferson, simply because the man existed in the same time period as the transatlantic slave trade. Tell me right now the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Tell me right now all men are created equal. And take it and make it modernized. All men and women are created equal. Same thing as saying all lives matter. This is literally the least racist thing anybody could say, the least discriminatory thing anybody can say, the least divisive thing anybody can say when we say all men and women are created equal, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All men and women are created equal. All lives matter. Every life matters. Not divisive, not racist, absolutely inclusive, absolutely diverse. And yet, here he is telling you that because Thomas Jefferson existed in the Age of Reason, and that the Age of Reason existed in the time of the transatlantic slave trade, that Thomas Jefferson is now to be questioned? So we can question Thomas Jefferson, but we can't question Anthony Fauci. We can question Benjamin Franklin, who was an odd fellow, but we can question him. But we can't question Dr. Fauci. We can't do that. We can't question Bare Shelves Biden. Interesting what they're trying to do. This Alan Singer character, who decided he was going to write about the loud majority, and we didn't know about it until Friday night, who's a part of these BOCES DEI trainings, who is clearly a critical race theorist. Folks, this man is dangerous for your children. If you have children in K to 12, the teachings of this guy, because he's teaching the students, because he's teaching the teachers, is making its way down to the students. It's making its way down to your kids. If you don't think so, once again, if you're not believing me, who is Alan Singer? Why should I care about Alan Singer? If you don't believe me, we will once again go right back to that BOCES training, and I will show you that he was a featured presenter. Featured. Here you go. One more time. We're back inside the training. A feature, Dr. Alan Singer, Hofstra education professor. But that's not all we got on Dr. Alan Singer. I got another article, his most recent article, Dr. Alan Singer, his most recent article And it was in something that the Daily Coast or something. I'm not sure what the heck paper that is. I'm not sure who reads it. But here's another one from Alan Singer that I'm going to pop on the screen right now. The Daily Coast. And we're going to read that as well. And I'm a little upset because this seeped in and it kind of happened without us seeing it. But here it is. Origin and meaning of critical race theory. Alan Singer, October 6, 2021. And you can see everything here. He's got a whole article. It's a very long article that I'm going to kind of take down to a spot that I had already mentioned. But I'm going to show you where Alan Singer starts to lie. I'm going to show you where Alan Singer starts to lie. So here it is. CRT became controversial when President Trump, he's another one who's obsessed with President Trump. CRT became controversial when President Trump denounced it in an effort to rally his supporters during his re-election campaign. Trump declared without any evidence that critical race theory is being forced into our children's schools. Dude, Alan, you are the evidence. You are the evidence that it's getting into the children's schools because you're training the people who teach the children in critical race theory. Guy, what are you talking about? But this is what I'm saying. They think you're stupid, that we're not going to put these dots, that we're not going to connect the dots here. It's absolutely getting forced into the children's schools because the guy who wrote this article is forcing it into the kids' schools. And he says, as a former high school teacher, he thinks it's a good idea. Guys, he is talking out of both sides of his mouth. Hello. I feel like Herman Edwards. Hello. You play to win the game. What am I missing here? So if a school district and a board, and I cannot wait to start talking to school boards again. So DEI and CRT are different, huh? Then who's Alan Singer? And what the hell is he doing training your teachers? Okay. Without evidence, it's being forced in children's schools. It's being posed into workplace trainings. It is. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is being forced into workplaces. How many people here in the chat? Where we got? Look at this chat. Look at this big, beautiful chat. Fantastic. How many people in this chat have had to sit through diversity, equity, inclusion, workplace trainings? It's all the same thing. It is being forced into every aspect of your lives. It's being forced into the military. It's being forced into workplace trainings. It's being forced into the schools. It's being forced everywhere. It's being shoved down everybody's throat. If it's DEI, if it's SEL, if it's CR-S, it's all critical race theory. Don't worry, I will show you that part of it is true as well. So let's go back to that article now. According to Professor Crenshaw, Kimberly Crenshaw, acknowledging racism was being defined by President Trump and his supporters as racism. The rhetoric allows for racial equity laws, demands, and movements to be framed as aggression and discrimination against white people. It is discrimination against white people. Now, here's Alan Singer. We don't teach critical race theory in the pre-K to 12 curriculum because we don't teach theory. Alan, again, then stay the hell away from trainings of the K to 12 administrators and teachers. If you're not teaching critical race theory in the K to 12 curriculum, why on earth are you training the K to 12 administrators and the teachers? Am I missing something here? Let's take a timeout. Let's reset. District tells you critical race theory is not in the district. It's called DEI or SEL or CRS, but it's not critical race theory. And you go, okay, let's see if that's true. Now we find out that your district is on the list, which I'll show you, and it's just one small list, but it's really, if they're teachers and educators and whatnot are being trained over at BOCES, who has the working relationship with Panorama Education, the Alexander Tanner, and that's the one who's selling critical race theory and SEL and all that stuff to districts across the country. BOCES has this guy leading off their DEI training. Tootsie Roll. It says Tootsie Roll on the front. First thing you hear is critical race theory. So now you're in a mindset that the entire rest of this training is going to have to do with critical race theory. The people being trained here are K to 12 administrators and teachers. The guy who leads off the presentation is saying, we're not doing it K to 12. And then he's going out and training K to 12 teachers. We don't teach CRT in the pre-K to 12 curriculum because we don't teach theory. We certainly don't teach children to hate themselves or this country. What we do is teach critical thinking, and critical race theory approach is definitely part of critical thinking. So he goes, we don't teach critical race theory, but we teach critical race theory. Incredible. Incredible. He talks about board meetings again here. Because apparently I believe the public attacks on critical race theory, including in school board meetings. Look, I'm going to highlight this, right? I believe that public attacks, I believe that the public attacks on critical race theory, including in school board meetings, are a right-wing response to challenges to police actions following the murder of George Floyd and to the Black Lives Matter movement's demands for racial justice. They have nothing to do with what or how we teach. Alan. You want to know what they have to do with? You want to understand why people are mad about critical race theory, why they're speaking out at board meetings? If you really want to know, call me. Because I'm going to be calling you. I'd love to have you on. I'd love to talk about why you're training K to 12 administrators if it's not in K to 12. Give me a call. I'll tell you what's going on at the board meetings. You wrote about us anyway. Give me a call. Come on, bud. Let's take a look at Alan Singer's Twitter. Who wants to do that? Look, who wants to do that? Because we're going to show you. I can show you what this guy tweets. Now, look, you're allowed to tweet whatever you want to tweet. My Twitter's sometimes a little crazy, right? But you're allowed to tweet whatever you want to tweet. But let's take a look at Alan Singer's Twitter, shall we? Here we go. We're going to go right in here. We're going to take a look at Alan Singer's Twitter. Take a look. Right here. Here's Alan Singer's Twitter. Some of these are gold, right? Here it is. Teacher, blogger, activist. That's what it says right there. He's got 166 followers, and he's following nobody. He's a self-important guy, as you can see. Nothing claims climate villain. He's a climate change activist. Here we go. We have, I don't know what that is. He doesn't like Joe Manchin because Joe Manchin is apparently, taking a stand against the insanity. Let's take a look here. He says that the Louisiana Purchase was not actually France's land to sell. So obviously he's in on that. He doesn't like Bill de Blasio, which is nice because nobody likes Bill de Blasio, and he calls cinema and Manchin dinos, Democrats in name only. Now he's talking about Putin's plan is working. What's ironic about that is that Putin's plan is working, and he's the useful idiot that is pumping in the Soviet propaganda into the soft heads of our children here in the United States to destroy it from within. Yuri Bezmenov talks about a guy like Alan Singer being one of the indoctrinators. He's a very big-time vaccine advocate. Look at this. Look at this Lincoln one. If Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address today, 7 days ago, I was fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Mocking Abraham Lincoln. Another one. Philosophers discuss the pandemic. To mask or not to mask? What a stupid question. Church of the Anti-Vaxxer God. Look at this. I mean, this is crazy. Some of these things, he's radical. He's obsessed. America needs the vaccine against crazy with a picture of Joe Biden, and he's a big Biden supporter. Still, despite everything, anti-vaxxer nightmare. This is the worst one. Anti-vaxxer nightmare. Please have your COVID vaccination cards ready. It's a depiction showing people going to heaven, and if you're not vaccinated, you don't get to go to heaven. This guy's a radical, folks. And he led off the DEI training. This guy's a radical. And he led off the DEI training. I got more. I don't have a lot more time, but I have more. I'm going to show you back into the DEI BOCES training one more time. And we're going to make this one more time here, and we'll wrap it up as we get there. But let's get back inside the BOCES DEI training, because this stuff is gold. All right, let's get out of here and scroll down. These are some of the trainings. These are the group roles, network teams. Here's some districts. Screenshot this, ladies and gentlemen. Here's some school districts who participated in this. Sayville, Islip, West Islip, South Country, Elmont, Middle Country, Central Islip, Brentwood, Longwood, Sachem, Riverhead, Bayport, Blue Point, Three Village, Port Jefferson, Bridgehampton, Southampton, and Center Moriches. Those are the ones that are attending or sending representation to this particular training. Screenshot that. If you're on that list, make your board aware that you have this information. So we continue to scroll. We were reading all this the other night. Crazy stuff. Critical race theory in schools today. Here it is. Alan Singer, professor of teaching, learning, and technology at Hofstra University. I don't really know what this is, but I hate it and must do anything to stop it. It's a political cartoon here with an elephant talking about critical race theory. You know that he's taking a shot at Republicans and patriots here. Now, this here right now, what you see in this, these pictures, Thomas Jefferson, the Indian raid, we saw that he wrote articles about this. He promoted his articles in the DEI training. But again, he led off the DEI training. The whole thing is now framed to be critical race theory. So these teachers who are being taught are now seeing everything through that lens. How can you say it's not in the schools when you're teaching them right off the bat about critical race theory at these trainings? Tootsie Roll, guys, candy wrapper. It says Tootsie Roll on the front of the candy wrapper. What do you think is inside of it? The first thing you hear is all this stuff about critical. You're seeing this. The first thing they're hearing is critical race theory. Because DEI is critical race theory. We go down to the next slide here. Woo. New York State Education Department, DEI and culturally responsive and sustaining education. Wow. And when you click through here, oh, by the way, Hofstra University has a DEI certificate program, so your teachers can go ahead and register for that, and they can go ahead and train themselves up on critical race theory. And by the way, who do you think teaches the Hofstra DEI certificate? Oh, there he is, America's favorite critical race theorist. It's a little blurry. Alan Singer, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alan Singer. He's a big player. And we wrap up, and that's the end of that as we go. The next batch of trainings will be November 3rd. Is this making sense? Do you understand why this is such a big deal? One more thing before we go. I do want to touch on the funding aspect of critical race theory, or the funding aspect of DEI and Panorama, and where they get all this stuff from. In the New York State culturally responsive and sustaining education framework, it mentions multi-tiered support systems and social emotional learning. As we know, Panorama Education specializes in both of those. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. My computer is really lagging today. We're going to Panorama's homepage. And we're going to take a look right up off the front of Panorama's homepage. And we're going to scroll to the bottom. Multi-tiered support system. SEL is CRT, folks. SEL is CRT. Look, because Panorama Education's got it. We saw CRS is CRT. Panorama Education, we're going to share the screen. Okay. And we'll pop that on. We're back to Panorama. If we scroll all the way down, by the way, there it is again, New York City Department of Education. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see social emotional learning right down here. Multi-tiered system of supports right over here. Okay. If we go back into the CRS screen, if we go back into the BOCES training right now and share that in. Sorry, I went away for a minute and share that in and use that as a means to jump over into CRS. Here we go. Here's CRS. Culturally responsive and sustaining education. I rolled through these slides the other day. I got to find out what page it was on. It was in the 20s, I believe. But we go through it and you will see. I mean, I might not be able to find it all right here. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it right off the bat. I don't have a lot of time yet left right now. But we'll do this on Friday. We'll go into CRS and how that it mentions social emotional learning and multi-tiered support systems. So CRS is grounded in a lot of what this Panorama Education is providing. Okay. That's just the point that I'm trying to make on that one. Let's go to one of my favorite topics, and then we're going to sign off for the day. I got to appear on a Cincinnati radio station as well. We're going to call in as the president and have a lot of fun. So we're going to go back to Panorama Education. We're going to look at the funding because, we always like to say follow the money. So let's look at the funding. Where does Panorama Education get their money? Well, primarily they get it. Here you go. CARES Act, ESSR, and ARP funding. What is the CARES Act, ladies and gentlemen? Is everybody aware of what the CARES Act is? Chat. What is the CARES Act? What is the CARES Act? Can someone in the chat tell me what the CARES Act is? You guys know what the CARES Act? I know the chat's on a delay. What is the CARES Act? Let's see all these beautiful patriots in there who know their information because they're great. They do their research. They're foiling school districts and they're standing up. What is the CARES Act? For those of you who don't know what the CARES Act is, Jackie DiLorenzo, Lisa, same thing right there. That's not crazy, Lisa. It's COVID relief. It's the COVID relief bill, folks. And the government passed that bill. The government passed that bill. So where is Panorama getting some of its money from, folks, to train your teachers, to survey your kids and train your teachers? They're getting it from you because the CARES Act was paid for by taxpayers. Remember when you got your $1,200 checks in the mail? Remember that? Yep. Well, we were also funding Panorama Education. Why would it be in the CARES Act? Why would that be in the CARES Act? Interesting. Well, then when you consider how New York State has aligned itself with DEI and with the critical race theory elements and concepts of DEI, we'll leave you with this. We're going to read from this right here. It's on the screen. If you're listening, podcast, we will not comply. It'll be on the audio. I'll read it to you. Check this out. Here we go. And this will all be in the show notes. We'll get this out to you in a minute. The Board of Regents, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Framework, the summary of it. Quote, the pandemic has exposed and exacerbated longstanding inequities that exist through the pandemic, The pandemic has exposed and exacerbated longstanding inequities that exist throughout every facet of our society. People of color, economically disadvantaged people, and especially women have been impacted the hardest of all, said Commissioner Betty A. Rosa. When it comes to creating a more equitable education system for New Yorkers, I'm confident our educators and school leaders will answer this call to action and set the tone for sustainable change. Pandemic. We focus on the pandemic. Framework suggests that schools adopt and implement policies that take a comprehensive approach and considers the entirety of this schooling process, from governance, teaching and learning, and family and community engagement to workforce diversity. Workforce diversity. I thought that was a conspiracy theory. I thought it wasn't getting into the workplace. Diverse schools and learning opportunities they're talking about. And there's nothing wrong with diversity. There's nothing wrong with multiple races learning together. We like that. So why are we dividing kids? Why are we telling kids that based off the color of their skin, they should feel a certain way about somebody? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? After a year of turmoil and heartbreak, it is natural to wish for a return to normal, but for far too many New Yorkers, the old normal, here he goes, they're changing it. The old normal is a place where people are traumatized daily by events, circumstances, and the chronic lack of opportunities, says Chancellor Lester W. Young. I recognize that the scope of our diversity, equity, and inclusion framework is daunting, but we cannot allow this opportunity to pass us by. We cannot allow this opportunity for change to pass us by. It's right out of Saul Alinsky. Never let a crisis go to waste. We cannot allow this to pass us by. What is this? This is a pandemic that has caused more division, that they have weaponized to cause more division. It's disgusting. We cannot allow for this change. We cannot allow this change to pass us by. Okay. Okay. And then you find out that Panorama Education is being funded by the COVID bill. And it all comes full circle. More on this on Wednesday. DEI is critical race theory, 100%. And you're paying for it. And you should be really pissed off. We're not done. We're not done. For today, we're done. But we're not done. We're going to continue pushing. We're going to continue to expose this. I know I've got a target firmly painted on my back. And that's okay. Because we will win at the end of the day. And we're going to do it with everybody's help here in the chat. And we're going to get even more people on board who don't want to see this happen to their kids. It's exposed, folks. Candy Wrapper, the very first presenter in the DEI trainings that are at BOCES that are training your teachers, was a critical race theory professor. What else needs to be said? Go to officialloudmajority.com or loudmajorityus.com. Check out the website. Sign up for the newsletter. Look up the podcast. We Will Not Comply on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. It's also on youtube.com/Long Island Loud Majority. Special thank you to the America First Warehouse and the America First Media Campus, where we are going to reform. We're going to be breaking the biggest stories ever out of here, so just keep it locked on us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 a.m. Sorry for the delay. It was a little hard to get up this morning. Long day yesterday. In the face of the intentional destruction of the United States of America, in the face of your school districts who are lying, in the face of critical race theory, we repeat these 4 words, these 4 right here. Louder than anybody's ever shouted them before, ladies and gentlemen. We repeat them over and over and over until they get it. We will not comply. Thank you guys so much for kicking it with me this morning, despite the delay. Thanks for coming out to Montauk yesterday. We'll see you at the next one. We're going to have a rally Halloween weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, until Wednesday morning, stop complying and stay loud.